Hello, everyone. My name is Ivan, and I'd like to talk to you guys today on how to get started with mobile, and in particular, how to quickly get up and running with mobile and Rails. So, we're all a bunch of developers here, big geeks, and you know how it is. You're working away, and you're deep down into code, and you got your Grados on, and you're really deep this time. You're so deep. You're in the zone, and you're in flow. Oh yeah. And stuff's getting done, GTD, all that good jazz, and someone taps you on the shoulder, and it's your Scrum Master. And it's time for your favorite thing in the world, your sprint planning meeting. Oh boy, you're exciting. Oh, and this time someone got a great idea. Yeah, oh, what is it? Like, oh, what is it? Like, hey, let's go mobile. Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's go mobile. Well, all the cool kids are doing it, man. Like, the investors are saying you should get on your back all about mobile, and Mashable is all mobile, and TechCrunch is talking mobile, and your mom and your Scrum Master and your cat's all mobile these days. Like, everyone's all mobile. All right. Well, okay, so let's talk about mobile then. Well, what I like to do first is start with a question. That is, what is mobile? All right, well, what is it? Well, nowadays, mobile is kind of like this guy and this guy. Great, one big happy family. Except there's really one more, like, wondrous relative that exists who seems like the oft-forgotten bastard child of mobile, which is this guy. Well, today I'm going to show you how to get started in Rails with these guys, namely because I think it gets you the most bang for your buck in terms of reach, and you can get stuff done very easily and quickly, and get something out the door without having to deal with certain annoyances. Okay, so let's get started. We've got our existing site, and we got to figure out how we want our users to enter our mobile site. So do we want something like this? And unless you're building for like 2 decades ago, you probably don't want something like that. Or how about this? Well, I'm probably going to say no to that too. And well, how about this? And like, good mother of Sauron, please just don't do that. All right. you shouldn't even consider this. Okay, no, we're really going to simply just go with this. Great. Rolls off the tongue, makes boss happy, let's go on. So before we get into all the nitty-gritty code, we have to consider certain flows here. Let's start with this. User goes to m.alice. What happens? You should probably just give the user the mobile site. Easy? All right. And of course, user goes to www. Pretty straightforward. Goes to the full site. Great. All right, moving on. User's on the phone, goes to m. So you're on your fancy mobile, you go to m. And well, this should be really no different from the desktop. Straightforward. Voila. Then let's consider this. Whoa, okay, now what happens here now? All right, user on the phone, goes to www. What should we do? Well, should we show the full site with like a helpful link? Or should we go straight to the mobile? Well, I'd say let's just go ahead and just do this. Great. Though we have to consider one little thing here. If the user's on the mobile site and clicks on the desktop link, what happens? Should be able to go to the full site. So you can see the big Gulliver in all her glory. All right. So let's get into some code, because I know you guys are anticipating that. All right. So when I first set up, I tried to do some configuration in Rails. So we'll go into our config directory and add a new MIME type, which will be used. The MIME type here will coincide to our template format that we'll add later. And you can add iPhone and iPad or whatnot in this too. Oh, sorry. Please tell me if you can't hear me. All right. So you can either add iPhone and iPad or whatnot here. You'll see later this will correspond to our file names. And also I like to add this regex, where we'll check against our user agents to see whether a request comes in from a handset or not. This is pretty much the same thing as what Mobile Foo has here. And I used Mobile Foo like a while ago, so I haven't checked. I checked a little bit back in. I think I had some problems with them, like using the gem before, but I think they've since like been fine. So you can probably just go use Mobile Foo and have this epic list from there, which would probably be fine. Okay, that's done. Let's go move on to our model. All right. So I typically like to keep a source attribute here, especially on your main models. Kind of this usually like makes salespeople happy later, because they want to know where stuff's coming in from, and and things. So they like to have their pretty graphs and stats later, which is great. And also useful later for adding in a little, like this message was sent from like mobile, or this was sent from such and such, so you can grow your mobile usage and show everyone you're doing mobile stuff. All right, great. Voila, let's move on to controllers. All right, there's a little bit to digest here, but the main point here is really to differentiate going to the m.dot site and hitting the site with the mobile device. So, you can see here, like, we're right now we're adding to both these filters, so we're just going to force both the m.dot and the mobile devices to go straight to the mobile site. All right. Well, look, we also have like this case, and what we have here is really to handle this situation that we outlined before. And otherwise, the user will never be able to get to the desktop view. And I'll usually have something like this in one of these controllers. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Depends how you want to handle it. But that way, your session variable can get set, and you can just set staying on desktop without having to like go in this endless loop of mobile. Anyway, so let's make a mobile controller. Great. Boom. All right. Wonderful. Rails. Now you can start adding a bunch of actions, and like this, you keep going, you add some more functions, and add some more routes, and then you can take an action to this controller and update the user, and wait, this is not really so good. I can kind of hear this voice in the back of my head that the gods may not be happy about this, and that I may be going to geek hell if I continue on this route. Okay, crap, like, this is not really the way to do it, and in fact, like what you really should be doing is like not having to like have this epic giant controller. And I learned this lesson a few years back when I'd actually done this exact thing, and in Java, actually, in like a framework a lot like Rails in Java. And I had written this epic mobile controller with 5,000 lines of code in it. And one of my colleagues came up to me and said, like, you know, I think you're gonna hit like the Java class size limit on this. And I was like, ah, shit. so learn from my mistakes. Don't do that. It's more onerous than you need to do that. So really, like your controller really, for the most part, you really shouldn't have to do anything in your controllers. Actually, like unless for very specific needs, you shouldn't have to mess with your controllers in order to add mobile templates. So right, let's move on. Add some mobile views. Great. Here we see the MIME type action that we configured earlier. Namely, we can see in our extension here, and I typically add a mobile style sheet specifically for mobile here. And then we have our views with the same MIME type again, same file extensions. We have a separate template for our mobile, and notice we actually have separate assets for mobile. Please don't like try to like take like existing big epic assets and like just change the size on them. Like please like Photoshop them, get your design guy to like shrink them, because like really, like as you guys probably already know, like your browser does a pretty poor job of handling that. Plus you're on mobile, there's bandwidth considerations, yada yada. All right. So great. Well, let me know here a bit about what we just did though. Assuming you'll be adding a new mobile template for every existing template that you have, you kind of have like this situation where like it's all or nothing. You gotta handle per action, and a lot of times you may not be ready to take all of your like mobile all your existing templates and convert them into mobile yet. In which case, you'd probably need to set up your application controller to do per action handling. And a lot of times, for instance, like with email links, where you guys have your Genius phones, and you'll click a link, and what'll happen is the app will see that your mobile request, and it'll try to render a mobile template, and it'll be like no mobile template, barf. So you probably want to do it on a per action basis if you don't have all of your templates ready for mobile. So in that case, we get rid of this line in our app controller, and we add this on a per action basis, specifically wherever we've already created a template for us. Let me put a note here that I found that the biggest bottleneck I have doing mobile web development has typically been visual design, and not really technical issues. Most of the technical issues that I've had to work with typically have already been solved for building the desktop or whatever, like non-mobile app before making the mobile stuff. So, all right, great. You got a mobile website up. but you really want to impress your Scrum Master, and she's hot with that whip. All right. So, all right. So, what's great about SMS is you can concentrate on pure content without fussing with too much visual design. There's no silly need for porting, which means it just works on all devices. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? So the only small caveat is it actually costs money. I wouldn't say it's very expensive. They're like, it's about a penny per message. Could probably be a lot for a small startup, but that's the price you pay for having epic reach. And nowadays, it's really so easy to get up and running quickly with what we'll be setting up today, which is this. Let me go on a small side here. Another story just back when I was working at this company, and we would have months and months of negotiations with all these carriers, and we had this amazing biz dev guy, Sean Kane, that would have these fantastic deals he would do, but like it was always a pain in the butt to do all this, and on a technical level, it was always a pain in the butt to deal with all these different APIs to integrate with, and plus there was the getting of short codes provisioned was a hassle, and different carriers would have different requirements. Some would need load testing done before going live, and so I'm really grateful that there is a service nowadays like this. All right, let's look at some code again. Right, configuration, get some YAML files set up. We take these settings from Twilio's website after we get set up, and I'll make a initializer to load that configuration file. Great. So I like to build these two classes, which is the Twilio controller class and the device class. And these end up being my two primary interaction points with Twilio. The device will store phone numbers and later iPhone, Android IDs and whatnot when we get to a point where we're going to make our Epic APIs. And Twilio controller is where we'll have callbacks for Twilio to send incoming texts from the Epic phones. All right. All right. So I also use the device model for sending outgoing messages. And you notice that there's different types, and there's different types here for iPhones and mobile and whatever, and there's different identifier strings. And we got a very simple example here, but I typically move the Twilio call here, and I put in its own private function to make stubbing easier for specs later. So this is an example. I don't really do it, but I typically, whenever I make any external API calls out, I'll put it into a private function, and during testing, I'll stub that function out to just like to not have to deal with it during testing. All right. So this is where Twilio interact with your app for incoming text via callback URLs you set on their site. And if you notice the device model used here, we use this to look up users associated with the phone number, and it's pretty straightforward, I think. There's maybe like a little bit where like I don't store the plus on device phone number here. I mean, I think that's however you want to do it. All right, so this is kind of cool. I really enjoy the testing frameworks that Rails has. Here I use RSpec and Factory Girl, and this is really I really like this because it basically documents the Twilio API for me while I write this, so I don't have to check back on the docs all the time. And I think the testing framework really like shines here, and I was really ecstatic when I was able to do this because back when I was at Bebo, I didn't really get like it was kind of a pain in the butt because I had like maybe 8 different carriers I was integrating with, and all would interact with my API in all these different ways. So this is like for me like awesome. I love this. And really that's it for like SMS messaging. Like the rest is really logic between your app and the device and Twilio controller classes. Like SMS integration is really pretty darn simple nowadays, especially with Rails, and it's really, really incredibly easy and fast to implement to get things out the door. And then once you get that, you hit that deliver button in Pivotal, and press your Scrum Master, and be a cool kid doing mobile. Thank you very much.